it makes total sense to me to make it a big giant party. I mean, bring some consumers in, bring some Tim Ferris kind of guys in to be speakers and inspire people and teach them about things that we have limited or no knowledge about. I mean, just make that thing a much bigger, broader event. Get the fly fishing guys together. Make that whole outdoor thing a giant festival twice a year.
That was Rick Saez telling us how to make the Outdoor Retailer Show an amazing event. This is the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, episode 122. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by the Fly Fishing Show. We've got a big giveaway going on to win a trip to Pyramid Lake, along with a bunch of great products and giveaways. Head over to wetflyswing.com/giveaway and enter to win the trip for a monster Lahontan cutthroat to one of the great destinations in the West. In today's episode, I talk with Rick Saez, who hosts the Outdoor Biz Podcast. We hear Rick's background in the outdoor industry, working with Eagle Creek, Low Pro, Umpqua, and how he can help you start your own podcast if you want to get into it. Find out why the Teardrop Camper episode is the biggest one so far and what overlanding is all about. I still don't totally get it, but we dig into that a little bit. Lots of fun stuff on this one. So, without further ado, here's Rick Saez.
How's it going, Rick?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Good to have you on here. We're going to chat a little bit here about the outdoor, obviously the outdoor biz, and everything
right.
you have going on. We've got lots of people, in the fly fishing space, obviously, that are listening to this show. But I think there's a lot of overlap, between what you have going and what we have going. And maybe I wanted to dig into all that. Before we get started, can you talk about how you first, how, I guess, give us a little brief outdoor background and then talk about how the Outdoor Biz Podcast came to be?
Yeah, so I've been in the outdoor industry for 20 plus years. Started out when I went to Southern California to work at an outdoor camp. I worked on weekends at Adventure 16, and that's where I first worked outdoor retail. And then from then just kind of, bounced around. I was a river guide for a few years and ended up going to the first, one of the early Reno outdoor shows, buying stuff for the river guide company, Kern River Tours, and then got connected to the guys that were bringing Montbell to the U.S. and became a rep. And then from there, it was just, Montbell and then Eagle Creek and then Dana Design. Had a stint with Umpqua. I worked for Umpqua Feather Merchants for a little over a year. Yeah, sales manager with those guys. Yeah. I was part of the crowd when we moved from Oregon to Colorado. So that was pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, been around for a long time. And then the last outdoor related brand I worked for was Low Pro, the camera bag company. I'm also a photographer. And they were going through some tough times, had some layoffs. I ended up getting laid off and thought, holy crap, what am I going to do now? Because I was north of 50 years old, getting laid off, and sort of stumbled on podcasting. I'd been listening to a bunch of podcasts and I'd gotten laid off and I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, one of my favorite podcasts is the Tim Ferris Show. You probably listened to that.
Yeah, I have.
He's a great interviewer, has great guests, great stories. And I thought, hell, I can do that with all my outdoor buddies. And, took Tim's advice on one of his blogs. He wrote, just dip your toe in it. Don't jump all in. I interviewed a few people and turns out I liked it. People thought it was good. And here we are coming on episode 200 in a couple weeks.
No kidding.
So, or I guess in about 6 weeks. Episode 200. Yeah. So that's how I got into it.
That's crazy. So 200 episodes. And I know I've looked and I've listened to some of them and you've had a good diversity of backgrounds. What do you think on when you look at your past guests, who they are? I mean, do you have a specific, are you always thinking of topics? Or are you thinking of your target customer? I mean, who do you think about when you choose who's on your show?
Yeah. I just launched some coaching stuff recently. And one of the things that I coach all my clients on is, in order to really be able to focus your podcast, you have to have an ideal listener. And that's who I always think of, my ideal listener. My ideal listener is a young person, either already in the outdoor industry or wants to get in the outdoor industry. And generally they're, working in the customer service department or working at a retail shop or something. And they walk by a rep presentation or they walk by the boardroom if they're working for a brand and they see the executives in there and they think, man, I want to sit at that table someday. And so that's who I always try to tailor my episodes to. And basically, I just ask all my guests about, how they got into the industry. I think that's always interesting to to find out how people got in, share their stories, and then, walk through their career and some things they've done, and maybe what inspired them to start their brand, or what inspired them to design that product, or whatever that is. And then at the end, I always ask for advice. What advice do you have for someone either in the biz or wanting to grow their career if they're already in the biz? And I just launched a book, the first 65 episodes of my podcast, and it's those guests and those pieces of advice for anyone wanting to get in the biz. And it ranges from, it can be very specific on, how to actually target your career, to very general topics on, just go for it. If you're passionate about it, go find something you like and go work with them and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think is the best? So out of all those 65, what's the best or your favorite words of advice?
I don't know that there's a best, but my favorite is always just go for it. I mean, I think if you're passionate about the outdoors and you love, whatever activity it is you're climbing or fishing or hiking, and you really want to make it a career, then go for it. Either find a brand or find a retailer, or if you have something that you want to design yourself, a product or a company, go for it. Just jump in with both feet. The industry is very welcoming and very helping, and you can reach out to people and they'll give you advice and give you help that you need or point you in the right direction. So just jump in, see what happens, and away you go. You never know. Yeah, no,
I think, and I'm kind of that. I guess that's why I've listened to your podcast, because I'm probably kind of an ideal customer, or or a audience as well, because I'm kind of building something here. There's not a lot of revenue coming in necessarily, but I'm having a lot of fun, and I've got goals to get there. And I found that I think obviously networking, I guess maybe it goes without being said, but that's one thing that, man, getting out to those conferences and meeting people, and you never know where that next having a beer with somebody might turn into a business. That's right? That sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah. And go local too. I mean, a lot of times you just go to these events that the local fly shop has and hobnob with all the reps, I mean, you'll learn a ton just talking to those guys.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, totally. Gosh, so that's great. So you got 100 or 200 episodes now, you're rolling along. And what's now for the next couple hundred? Are you going to change it up? Or are you going to just keep doing what you're doing?
I think I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I've changed it up a little bit. I've broadened out my reach a bit, because I know so many people, not only in the core outdoor space, but working 10 years at Eagle Creek, I'm very connected to the adventure travel world. So I've had a few of those guys on, very connected to the fly space. As a matter of fact, I don't know when this episode is going to drop, but the first 4 episodes of January of this year are all fly fishing guys.
Oh, wow.
Johnny LeCoq from Fishpond is on next week. Mark Bale from Farbank the week after that.
Yeah.
And then we have Tom Sadler from the Marine Fish Conservancy. And then wrap up the month with Brian Cheney from Korkers. So it's kind of a fly fishing month in January.
Yeah, that's all. And I had Tom Sadler was on in a past episode. We had
cool.
Yeah, we had a great chat about all sorts of. We even got into.
He's awesome.
We even got into a little on politics, which we normally don't do too much of.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's cool. Okay, well, yeah. So it sounds like you're definitely, you've got some fly fishing stuff going on. If you think about, again, taking that person, say there's somebody listening here, they're a new guy, there's something like that. When they're getting, is there some sort of a roadmap or something somebody could take a look at out there, or some sort of a resource that somebody could say, I want to get into this. Obviously you can do the stuff we talked about, but is there anything short of that they can kind of take a step? Maybe there's online courses, right, are a big thing these days. It doesn't seem like the outdoor biz. Do we have that?
We don't yet, but I'm working on one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Obviously, I'll make a shameless plug here. You can go to my website, ricksaez.com, and on the menu there's a podcast cheat sheet. You can download that. It's got the 10 steps to creating a podcast.
Yep.
You can go to the Podcaster's Workshop, which is the page where I advertise all the programs that I offer. One is it's like a 10-week course that I really get into the details of that podcast cheat sheet. And at the end of 10 weeks, you'll have a nice, shiny new podcast. There's another one where you can just schedule 30 minutes with me and brainstorm, a podcast, what it takes to do a podcast, what your ideas are. That's a freebie. We can sit down for 30 minutes and clarify what a podcast can do for you. Or it's amazing to me how many retailers and businesses have yet to jump onto podcasting in the outdoor space, because it's really a new way to attract and engage customers. And then, if you dial up your e-commerce situation right, you can sell where you sleep. So I think that's an opportunity too. But yeah, and there's a bunch of people out there teaching right now, which is kind of why I launched it. Because I want to focus on specifically helping outdoor and adventure businesses get into this medium. It's still a young medium. It's not too late to get in. It can go a lot of different ways. And I think in the outdoor adventure space, we can do a lot of different things with a podcast. You can inform people, you can educate people, you can inspire them, you can sell them. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and so many people love to give of their time, whether it's sharing stories like the interview thing that I do. Everybody's got a story to tell. Yep. So I just do that, but you can go a million different ways. So yeah.
That's cool. Are you, and on that track, I mean, you're kind of doing a solo show. Have you ever looked into the podcasting networks, starting your own or joining one, or thought about any of that? That seems to be something that you're hearing more about.
Yeah, I've been contacted by a couple of those folks, but I'm kind of steering clear of them. I think probably because I want to maintain, control of my brand, so to speak. I want to be able to do what I want to do, and target it for my specific brand. A couple of the guys that have reached out to me have been a little bit broader than my niche. And I think that's one of the other things. You've probably found this with your show. The more narrow you can go on your niche, I think the more success you'll have.
Yeah.
If you go too broad, you'll mean nothing to nobody. Yep. Right. So if you really focus on that ideal listener, and I was coaching somebody yesterday, talking to him about it. I said, you really got to get down to that person. What kind of shoes do they wear? I mean, what's their commute to work? What's their family life like? What do they aspire to be when they grow up, so to speak? I mean, really get into the details, because it's amazing. I'll be talking to somebody on an interview, and we'll be kind of headed down some path, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, where am I going to go? And I just, for some reason, my mind clicks onto this vision of my ideal listener, and I rein it right back in. So It's amazing when you create that persona, how much it helps you in ways you can't even imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What do you think is what do you think is the biggest struggle out there to becoming a successful, or even starting a brand in the outdoor business? Is there, do you hear something commonly out there from people, or, you've seen a lot of success stories, right?
Yeah. I've worked with some great brands. We brought Montbell to the U.S. back in the late 80s, and that was a pretty fun project. I don't know what I think. It's probably in the outdoor space right now, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of big players that have big money that, can do a lot of things that a small person can't. But if you go to the outdoor retail show and look at the venture out section, which I was fortunate to work with Scott McGuire in the early days of that back in Salt Lake, there's all kinds of new brands that just start out and, show up at that show with about a 10 by 10 space and launch their first product, and away they go. Western Rise started that way, I'm pretty sure, at Adventure Out. So I think there's a lot of ways, and, don't let it hold you back. You got to have some capital. You got to find either a sugar daddy or somebody with some money behind it to make sure that you can, stay the course. But if you have if you're doing a brand, if you have a great product though, I think the sky's the limit. What if
you don't actually have a physical product? What if you have some sort of a online product or something that's not typically your physical? Do you still think you need a ton of cash to get going, or can you do it with?
You need less. Yeah, much less. That's much simpler to do it online, because these days you can fulfill to order, right? So you just take the order and then fulfill it, and make it as you need it, kind of thing. There's a lot of options to do that these days.
Yeah, totally.
There was I don't know if you know the outfit called Snooze, SNEWS.
No.
They've been in the outdoor space for a long time. They started out as a kind of a media outfit, and they still do publications. Their magazine, I think 2 or 3 times a year, is called The Voice. And I think it was the last episode in The Voice. They were talking about all those different, online only brands that have popped up. So there's a million different ways. And you can find, either local makers to make your product. You can obviously always go to Asia to make it. But I think if you have a good product, it's good quality. Most of the outdoor consumers are very discerning. They want to buy good. They're willing to spend money, but they want to buy good product. I think if you try to go the cheaper route, you may see some short-term success, but I'm not sure that's viable long-term.
have you seen out there in, the outdoor business, brands, have you seen much of the affiliate stuff where people, basically find a great brand out there, whoever it is, Eagle Creek or some company, and you use the product, and then you basically go to that company and say, hey, can I get a commission if I send people to, your site to buy products? Have you seen that as a successful model?
I have not. That was just starting to get popular when I was exiting the industry. So since I've been out of it, I know it exists.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know how successful it is or not.
Gotcha. And you're not. I mean, you're kind of out of it, but you're still in it because you're doing. Well, I guess you're out of it because now you're focusing on teaching podcasting, podcasting, right? Even though you
teaching podcasting and interviewing. Yeah, I don't work day to day on the sales side or the marketing side or any of that stuff. And that influencer affiliate model was not in existence last time I was working on the inside.
Gotcha.
It wasn't, I don't even think Instagram existed when I was there.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow. Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah. So are you pretty much retired, or is this kind of a side gig, or how are you, doing it all with, I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for where you're at in the whole business.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I'm not retired. I mean, I still would love to work for a great brand and help them on the sales or marketing side. It's a little tougher these days when you get north of 55 years old.
Yeah.
And I kind of have bounced around a lot. So I think people might think I'm not as committed, but I'm still as committed to it as I ever was, and love all the brands I've worked for, have great relationships. And like I say, stumbled on the podcast, super fun. I mean, I'm just starting to see the monetization piece of it roll in. So if this keeps going the direction it's going, then maybe this is my new job.
There you go. And this is monetization through the podcasting,
podcasting and sponsorships and the whole thing. I think podcast monetization takes a number of different avenues. There's not just one thing that will support you. You've got to have 4 or 5 different revenue streams to bring it in. That's why I did the book, right? I wrote the book to give myself more exposure, not necessarily to sell a bunch of books, although that'll be good. That's going pretty well, but more to, establish myself more as a leader in the space and get speaking engagements and things like that. Coaching engagements. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I saw your website, at ricksaez.com. I think you kind of have where people go check out that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks good. Cool. So on your job, so you had, it sounds like a job that you lost. I mean, what did that feel like? I mean, for those that have never been, I'm not sure, you get let go or whatever. I mean,
what is that? Laid off.
What is that? Is that something where it's kind of a surprise, or is it just happen like, you knew it was coming, or how does all that work?
It's pretty tough. I mean, it's tough. I don't know about getting let go, but getting laid off, I think, is challenging because you can kind of see it coming.
Yeah.
Because in order for layoff to happen, the business has to be struggling.
All right.
And when the business is struggling, you start to see signs in different areas where we're not advertising with that guy anymore. We're not going to that event anymore. We're not doing this.
Right.
And you see other people. I was probably one of the final rounds of layoffs.
No kidding.
There'd been these. You'd walk in and there'd be all of a sudden 5 people gone. It's like, oh wow, and that creates a whole nother level of pressure too, because you're trying to make the number. They have this number to hit, and whether you're owned by a bank or owned by a VC or owned by a sole proprietor, there's always a number to hit. And as you get more and more pressure to hit that number, it just creates weird things. And then you walk in one day and you're part of the layoffs. So I was one of the last rounds, I think.
Yeah.
And and you see it coming, and you're trying to fight it, and you're trying to do the best you can, and also maybe trying to find another job, and that gets tough too. And then all of a sudden happen, you're just like, oof, man, now what am I going to do?
There you go. Yeah. Well, and that was probably, I'm sure, coincide. I mean, the 08, 09, that crazy time, right, when all the bank.
Yeah, collapsed. No, this was in 15.
Oh, 15.
14 or 15. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, though, is once that happens, you really can't. I think a lot of people, you can't fold the tent. I mean, you got to get back up and put your shoes on and get out there and go fight the good fight and try to make something happen, which is how I found the podcast. I mean,
that's the great thing is you found a See, that's how I kind of feel with this podcast is that, I'm not going to tell my whole story. Some people have listened to it, but, I wasn't planning on this either. It kind of just, it came and just hit me. And then I started it and realized like, oh man, this is the greatest thing ever. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so on the outdoor retailer, this is really interesting because I know this is a huge conference, and we just had our IFTD
I was
few
there.
months ago. Oh, you were there. Oh, I missed you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I missed you there in Denver.
I did. Yeah.
Yes.
I was there for about a day.
Okay, cool.
Not even a whole day, but yeah.
It was interesting because I asked, I interviewed Tom Sadler, who we just mentioned before that, and I asked him because I hadn't been to IFTD, and I said, what is it like walking to IFTD? And he described, can you describe what it's like walking into the outdoor retailer, that show?
Well, I always describe it as like a big high school reunion.
Oh.
Because I think once you've been in it for as long as I have, and as long as a lot of us have, it's like just going to a high school reunion, seeing old friends. I mean, you're walking in the aisles and you see old friends, you big hug, slap on the back. The beer comes out about 4:00, and it's a super fun environment. It's changed over the years. It's a lot bigger now. I think it's a lot more corporate now, but it's still the same. I mean, it's still walking the aisles and seeing everybody and touching base with your friends, and seeing all the cool new product. I felt the same at IFTD. I hadn't been to that show in many, many years. And it was just the same walking the aisles, from my days at Umpqua and seeing the Umpqua guys, Jeff Fryhofer and those guys. It's just, exactly the same. So it's super fun. It's super fun industries to be in. I mean, that's the beauty of it is we work our butts off, and, everybody has various pressures that you have with the job. But at the end of the day, we're all buddies, and we can all, compete like hell during the day and then go for a beer at night and share stories. So they're all great. Same with adventure travel. It's awesome.
Same thing. And that's kind of what I'm starting to combine a little bit. Not necessarily the adventure as much as the travel. I'm getting into some.
Yeah, I saw that you're offering trips. That's
great.
Great.
Yeah, we're doing some destination stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm just trying to provide some more, resources and tools and all that stuff. And I enjoy it. That's another thing, right? You should probably do things you enjoy. And it's cool about fly fishing. And I think probably a lot of the outdoors the same, where you got a lot of these companies that have a real conservation minded ethic. And, that's another bonus of being in it, where it feels like, as opposed to just making something, or you're actually doing good. I mean,
it's funny. My grandfather and my dad both worked at steel mills. And I tell the story when I was a kid, in high school. They said, yeah, we'll get you a job at the mill. It's really good, benefits, blah, 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 blah. And they took me out there for a tour one day, and we were home having dinner that night, sitting around the table. And they said, so what'd you think? And I looked at both of them, and I said, there isn't enough money in the world that would make me work out there.
No kidding.
It was just, well, this was in Southern California, Fontana, California, hot, dirty.
Wow.
And,
damn.
And, my grandfather got me into the outdoors, and I was just jonesing to do something there. And ended up stumbling on an outdoor degree. Got both my degrees in outdoor rec, and here it is, 25 plus years later. It's awesome. So it's a great space to be in.
Yeah, totally. So you have a degree. What's the and obviously you mentioned you're fishing. What is your home? Do you have a home? I know you're in California. Do you have a home water that you fish?
Yeah, I live in Bishop, California. So I live in the Eastern Sierra, and there is tons of home water here.
Yeah, you got it
all the lakes. We got the Owens River. I can be in the Owens River in about 5 minutes, and that flows all the way down from the Mammoth area down below Bishop. So there's some great fishing there. Hawk Creek is one of the, used to be the master's degree of fly fishing around here. It was really tough because it gets so much pressure, and the fish are just so picky. And that's a good spot. Yeah, there's so many places around here. It's awesome.
Are you more of a dry fly, do it all, nymph, or do you kind of?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You got to do it all. If you want to catch fish, you got to do it all.
That's right. That's cool. Okay, so and I was kind of getting back to this thing, thinking about this kind of a plan. I'm just trying to, think of that person that's, like you said, they're kind of, doing some odd jobs and they want to get into it. Anything else? Are there any other resources out there that, folks, I mean, I think of some online business type stuff, but, if somebody wanted to jump into it and take it to the next step, what would you recommend? Are there other resources people of that would be good to connect with?
To get into the outdoor industry?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I would do and recommend to folks do is to go get a job at retail.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think retail, you learn so much about the product, so much about what makes the customer buy or not buy the product. It's really where the rubber meets the road. And, find a job at a retailer, work weekends if you have to, if you got a second job, whatever. But get into the retail side of it, because I think you learn a ton about the whole industry that way. And then the reps come through and give clinics and whatnot. So I think that's a good place to start. Or if you, for whatever reason don't want to do that, if you happen to be near a brand, go talk to a brand and see if you can shadow somebody on a job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, say you want to work, I just want to shadow the customer service guys, or, I want to be a designer. I want to be on the product side, and I want to shadow a product manager or something like that. Just go shadow somebody. I think there's a lot of unique ways to get in. You may have to get creative and tell somebody you'll work for free for a little bit to prove yourself. But
yep.
I think there's a lot of ways to get in.
Yeah. No, that's
degrees are one way. That's traditional, but just go apply to brands you like, apply to companies you like, and be willing to start at the bottom. When I was at Eagle Creek, I started out as a customer service manager.
Uh-huh.
When I was at when the Montbell guys hired me, I was just a knucklehead river guide up there at the show buying stuff for our little shop, and through friends of friends got connected to them, and they liked my outdoor background. I didn't know anything about sales at that point. And they hired me as their California sales rep, and the guy put me through some sales training, and I became a sales rep.
No kidding.
Which was awesome. And then from there, worked my way up into, a little bit of sales management, customer service management, and then ended up back in San Diego at Eagle Creek, and I started there as customer service manager and left as director of sales. So don't be afraid to start at the bottom.
Yep. What is the difference when you think of the outdoor biz versus, say, the other industries that are out there around the country? I mean, do you hear much about that? Is it quite a bit different than the other kind of sectors of the economy?
Oh yeah, way different. Yeah. It's a little more, it's more professional, I would say, now than it was back in the day, but I think it's a lot more, what am I trying to say? Kind of more of the daily grind, but it's still like, it's like going to the show. As you're walking into a store, whether you're a sales guy or a customer service person on the phone, or you're going overseas to work with some factory designer product, you're making toys basically. I mean, it's all this fun stuff, fun products that you're designing, fun products that you're selling, or
that's true.
Fun things that you're talking to an account on the phone about. There might be a shipment that went bad or something happened and the guy's all frustrated, but at the end of the day, we're all selling toys.
Exactly.
And so I think that really kind of takes everything down a few notches compared to a guy selling copiers or software or something like that. I had Greg Blakeney on my podcast a few episodes ago, and he tells a great story about he was a software sales guy making bunches of money, but just hated it, and had gone on this really long bike ride. And that's when he decided, I just can't go back. And now he's a filmmaker down in Bogota, Colombia. So,
no kidding.
Yeah. You never know where to lead you.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah. You mentioned the retail, that's interesting because that's a good tip I've heard on here about just the fly fishing, the fly fishing shops, kind of the same thing where, if you want to get into it, try to get a job at a shop. And yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You just kind of get your foot in the door and, show your passion and you go from there. The podcasting thing, I actually had the Drake cast, Elliot. Adler was on. He was the host of that. He's moved on from that, but that was his tip for podcasting. I was asking him about, how somebody might get into podcasting. And he said, go out to a brand. One way to do it is go out to one of these big brands and kind of pitch a show to them. Say, hey, I'll do a 6-show season for you. And that's a good way to get your foot in the door. And who knows, maybe it grows into something or maybe it doesn't, but at least, you're kind of
look
doing
at, I don't know if you listen to the Wild Ideas Worth Living podcast.
I've heard a little bit,
Shelby Stanger. She created that podcast and then pitched it to REI, or I forget how REI got involved, but somehow REI was the main sponsor for it. And now she has since, I think, sold it to REI. She's still the podcaster, the talent on the show, but I think REI now owns it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, you never know where it's going to go.
Jeez, that's cool. Well, let's just look. I mean, I had a few more things I wanted to dig into. One of them, that I check on a lot here is it's usually focused around fly fishing, but we kind of call it the 222, top 2 tips, top 2 resources. Well, usually we do top 2 flies. So I don't know. Are you comfortable? Do you want to throw out a couple?
I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's think of your home river. And you mentioned, I think, what was the bigger one there?
The Owens River?
Yeah. Is there I guess we don't have to say a specific river, but is there a couple of flies that are kind of your go-tos if you had to pick one or two?
You can pretty much catch flies on the Owens nymphing with a pheasant tail. Yeah. And then if you put you do the dropper thing, put a pheasant tail on the bottom and then put a giant caddis or a rubber leg stimulator or something there on the top, you'll catch flies.
Yeah.
I mean, you catch fish.
You catch some fish. Yeah. Those are definitely good standbys. And as far as tips, I mean, I guess, we don't necessarily have to say a fly fishing tip, but is there a general, I mean, would you rather keep it on the fly fishing tip, or would you rather
That's
talk
up
about?
to you. Yeah, it's your show. We can do fly fish. I can hang with that, I think.
Give me a couple of fly fishing tips. And this could be, think of it could be a beginner, it could be anyway. What would be a couple of tips you would give to somebody, new to it?
Well, one tip that I always give to people is wherever you're going, home water, or if you're on some trip or something, go to the local fly shop and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because those guys have the local knowledge. And a good buddy of mine say this all the time. There's nothing like local knowledge. I don't care if you're going to take photographs, go fly fishing, go hiking, go climbing. Local knowledge is invaluable. So stop by the local fly shop. See what's going on at the river or the stream or the lake. Maybe the water came up last week because around here the water fluctuates sometimes in certain areas because they, release water. It's controlled. Mm-hmm. But just see what's happening. Maybe the water's temperatures are up, the water temperatures are down, whatever reason. Just go talk to the local guides and local guides at the shop, and they'll put you on the right stuff. And then the other thing is when you get out there, be patient and try a lot of things. I mean, they may have told you to put a stimulator and a pheasant tail on there, but it's not working. So try something else, put a big caddis fly in a hare's ear, or who knows what it is,
Yep.
Just keep trying because mixing it up, move your fly up and down, take it lower, take it higher, put more weight on there. That's all kinds of things.
That's a great, sounds like we've Kelly Gallup I always think of him as because it was a crazy epic long show. And he said something, I can't remember exactly, but he said he pretty much changes his flies every few minutes. And he's more of a streamer guy, but he's just constantly changing. If
you're not catching fish, exactly.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I didn't even really think that much, like that. But I mean, it makes sense that if it's not working and the fish are there, then sure, keep switching it up. That's good.
Yeah, and it could be the same fly, just different size.
Exactly.
I mean, just keep trying whatever it is.
Yeah. And what about a couple of resources? Do you have any fly fishing resources that you're kind of your go-tos or anything you would recommend?
Ooh, boy, that's a tough one. Resources.
And it could be, I could be talking a magazine, book, video, I think of, in our space, obviously I'm a podcaster, so I always think of the podcast, but I don't know, anything come to mind, just the stuff that, how have you learned the fly fishing?
Well, with guides, I think one of the resources I would mention as a guide, a lot of times, when I go to a new area, the first thing I'll do, using your buddy and I, we'll hire a guide the first day.
Yep.
And it's invaluable spending the day with the guide. You learn about, the water, where to put your fly in the water column and what flies and so many things, unique to that river. So I think a local guide is a good thing to use. Yep. And then online, there's so many resources online. If you're planning a trip, like if you're going to come over here, just go online and see what all the resources are online from the local shops to, other brands that talk about, having been here. There's so much online. So I would say online and local guides.
Yeah, definitely.
Resources I would use.
Yeah. And that answer, as far as the guy I can't remember who it was, but I had somebody that basically said the same thing. That's the funny thing is if you go with guides, you don't need a whole bunch of resources because they're
true.
teaching you everything.
I tell you, I went with a buddy and I rented a motorhome and drove down the Kenai Peninsula.
Oh, wow.
Gonna, salmon fish. We were all, time of year was right. We had the motorhome. We had ice chests. We were planning on coming back with bunches of salmon, and went out the first day and caught nothing. And so then went the second day with our guide and caught one. And the guide was talking about the bloat, or I forget what was going on, but part of it was we weren't catching trout because the trout were all full, declaimed from the eggs, the salmon eggs that they were eating from the pinks.
Yep.
And the silvers weren't there yet. So we just, we caught that one salmon that whole week.
No kidding.
We were so frustrated. So sometimes even a guide can't put you on fish if the fish, like a salmon run. If the fish aren't there, nothing the guy can do about that.
No.
But it's just interesting. So, you never know what you're going to run into.
Yeah. Well, it's fishing at the end of the day. And
that's right.
That's the interesting thing about this steelhead. We've got this trip coming up next month, and it's steelhead. These people. I think. Oh man, that's one of the That's one things guides do well is they basically balance expectations for clients. Letting them know that you might stand out here all day and not touch a fish, and that's how it goes.
it's tough. Yeah, when I first started the Umpqua, we were on the North Umpqua then. I went out steelheading a couple times and nothing. I mean, part of it was I didn't know what I was doing. It was still the North. It's really hard. Really hard.
The North is. I have another people. I won't tell the story here, but yeah, I had a great story on the North. I haven't fished it a lot, but had a good trip up there after interviewing Frank Moore, who's kind of the classic.
He is, yeah.
The classic.
The professor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But hey, so let's jump a couple more things before we jump into kind of, the rapid fire and we kind of bust out of here. You know, as far as the companies, I'm not sure how many companies you've worked with over the years, but do you have one that's kind of, I don't know if it's a favorite or just maybe your favorite job or something, anything stick out over all the years?
Oh gosh, yeah, probably my favorite was Eagle Creek, just because I was there so long and I got to work through so many different parts of that business, right? Starting out in customer service and then working my way up through operations. I remember back in the day, this is when all the pick tickets were printed by hand and I had to physically sort them and carry them out to the warehouse and, interacting with all those folks. And then, moving on up to the sales guy, the lead sales guy, and traveling all around the country and world, really, and meeting some great reps and great retailers and stuff. So that was probably the funnest job and just a fun group of people. I mean, we still refer to everybody as the Creekers, the old Creekers. Oh, really?
So was it a small company then, and is it just a huge company now, or do you know that whole story?
Yeah, it was probably 20 to 25 million in revenue when I was there, and we grew it to almost 50.
Yeah.
Maybe just shy of 50. So that was pretty significant growth.
What year was that when you were there?
I went there in 1991 and left in 2001.
Oh, cool. So you're there in the time. It's funny because I have an Eagle Creek backpack, and it's so cool because I got it in, I want to say 97 when I was in college, and I still have it. It's my hunting pack. And I've been all these years, after about 10 years, I kind of kept trying to find another pack. I was like, this thing's old. But I still love that Eagle Creek pack all these years. I still use it.
It's great stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of,
I still have a lot of it. Yeah. So that was probably the most fun and, diverse. I get bored if I do one thing too long. So I think the other thing that helped me there was being able to move through these various jobs and learn new things and tactics and whatnot. That's right. Yeah, it was great.
Was that every couple of years you feel like you were moving on to a new
it seemed, yeah. I mean, I look back on all the things that I did there. I don't really remember how frequently it happened, but yeah, it seemed to be changing a lot because, when you grow from 25 to 50 million I think that happened in about 5 or 6 years. So that was a pretty, aggressive space of time, and it was just moving and shaking. I mean, it was just so much fun. Yeah.
That's cool. And what about, so you mentioned the trip up to Alaska. Is that kind of, if you think of one trip that you've done or maybe a trip that you want to do you have anything out there that's kind of a big bucket list trip that you've either done or planning on doing in the fly, if you're thinking fly fishing, I guess?
Fly fishing? Gosh, I don't know. I've been lucky to fish a lot of places, not so much around the world, but definitely North America. I took a group to Alaska on a later date, and we hired guides and caught a bunch of fish. Stayed over at a lodge on Intricate Bay. We stayed in a lodge there for about a week and just slayed the fish and grizzly bears all around. Yeah, salmon. Yeah. And grizzly bears around. Got some great photos. So I'd go back and do that again in a second. I think Russia would be fun to go fish in.
That would be.
I think that's probably on everybody's list.
Yep.
But yeah, on my bucket list right now is two things. One is the only continent I've not been to is Australia, so I want to get down there just to check the box. But I also want to go back to Antarctica. I was in Antarctica in the early 90s, and I was not the photographer then that I am now, so I want to go back and retake all those photos.
Yeah. What do you use?
Yeah, that was fun.
What's your camera of choice?
Well, I'm a Nikon guy, but I'm just in the middle of switching over to Sony. So
no kidding. A little
smaller and it's just a smaller footprint and but all digital.
Yeah, all digital. What's your? Do you know your most popular episode that you've had so far?
Actually, I just replayed the two most popular episodes of this year over the holidays. The first one was I interviewed the guys from Colorado Teardrops. They make teardrop trailers.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, great guy. Dean Wiltshire is a great guy. I got to go visit him when I was at the IFTD show. I took an afternoon and went and visited him and saw their trailers and stuff. So that was pretty cool. So that's the most popular episode of mine in the last year. And then the second most popular was the folks from Arrive. Ross and Rochelle started this. Ross Richmond and Rochelle Snyder started this brand called Arrive, and they rent outdoor equipment. So if you don't want to buy it, you don't want to own it, you just want to go camping for the weekend, you can rent it from them. They'll send it to you. You send it back dirty. They'll clean it all up. But that was the second most popular one. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we have well, not a partner company, but I've interviewed a company called Rent This Rod, and they just rent out. They would rent out fly rods, and I think they're pretty close to making it a full-time gig.
Very cool
as well. Yeah. So they're definitely. Well, it makes sense, as travel.
Yep.
The travel industry, it doesn't make sense to spend thousands if you're only going to do it once a year or maybe once in a lifetime, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and so the teardrop. So why? Yeah, that's interesting. The teardrop. I guess I wouldn't think that a camper episode would be the most popular. Why do you think that was?
Well, I think this overlanding thing is becoming very, very popular, right? People are, as the outdoor recreators age, all of us get older, sleep on the ground is not as comfortable or fun as it was when I was 18. I can still do it, but
you'd rather go to a lodge.
I wake up a little more stiff and sore. So if I can have a nice, big mattress, foam mattress in a teardrop, that's very appealing to me. And whether it's a teardrop or a camper van or whatever, these Sprinter vans, whatever it is, I think it's become very, very popular. Well, so,
what is this? These are pretty cool topics I'm thinking here now. The overlanding. I mean, I love. I'm not going to get into all this stuff that I've done, but I've had a couple of like outdoor companies in the past before I got into fly fishing and stuff. But
cool.
But I've done everything, right? I mean, I've kind of not been a master of, but tried it all.
And like me, I've done that.
Yeah, you've done. We're kind of the same. So overlanding is one of those things where I don't quite. I guess maybe can you explain what it is exactly?
Well, I think it's just a new term for camping, right?
Oh, is that all it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's camping. It's vehicle assisted camping.
It's car camping.
What it is. Car camping. Yeah. But with some of these new rigs that these guys have, they can go off road. They can go virtually anywhere. You know, so I think that's where the overlanding term comes in. It sounds a little more wild, if you call it overlanding rather than car camping, right?
Here's the one thing I'll have to get a guest on. I'll probably get some hate mail.
Well, and any overlanding guy listening now is going to be pissed at me for saying that, but
yeah, exactly.
It's not car camping. Come on.
It's car camping. No, and I probably get some hate mail for this too, but I see these overlay. I guess it's overlay, right? They have these pop-up tents on top of the cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I see that makes sense. Obviously, if you're camping on rock, right, where you can't set up a tent and stuff like that. But other than that, it just seems like for me, I would rather just throw a tent in the back, have less stuff on top of my car, maybe even, what I mean? It just seems like I wonder.
No, I'm with it. Yeah, I have a good buddy of mine who runs the Adventure Portal, Andy and Lori Palmer. And they have the adventureportal.com is a great resource for all these things overlanding, car camping, cool rooftop tents and all this stuff, stoves and heaters and
all that
and whatnot. They do a great job. And I hang out with them about once or twice a year up here in the Sierra, and they have all that stuff when they come up. They have all that stuff in the gear, and I just roll up in my Subaru and sleep in the back of my Subaru and throw my bag on the ground. So I think it depends on, what kind of person you are and how much gear whether you like to mess with the gear or like to just be a minimalist.
I guess that's it. It's just gear.
We have our own thing.
Yeah, it's a pop of it.
But it's cool stuff, man. Some of these, I interviewed the guy from Roof Nest tents too, the car top tents. They have some cool product as well. It's amazing what people are making.
Oh, cool. Days. Cool. Yeah, I'll put links to all this stuff we're talking about in the show notes so people can take a look. And the other one, this is one back to when I remember when I was doing some of my camping, I kind of had a camping site back in the day I was doing and stuff, but glamping. So glamping is this other thing. So now what is glamping exactly if you had to describe it?
Well, I think glamping is even a notch above overlanding and I think it's partially driven by someone else sets up your camp and you just show up and do your thing for the weekend and leave, and they tear it down and clean it up and put it away.
Yep.
I think. I mean, it gets more, the higher end it goes, the more glamping focused, I guess.
Yeah.
You rent an Airstream versus just a teardrop.
Right. That's what it is. Yeah, it'd be just like, I guess, similar to going to a lodge or a river lodge. That's pretty much glamping as well. They're setting your stuff up. You fly in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And all right. Good. Yeah. Those are all interesting topics. It seems like again, you start talking about this gear, and that's what's fun. I mean, I think most people that are into the outdoors. I mean, I know I'm kind of a gearhead. I love just talking about gear.
We all are.
It's kind of fun.
We all are.
That's good stuff. Okay.
That's what's so great about going to the shows.
Exactly. Well, now what would you recommend? So for that big show coming up, when is that typically?
Outdoor Retailer, the snow show is the last week of January.
Last week of January. Denver. And the snow so there's 2, or how many shows are there a year?
There's 2.
Okay.
There's one is in the winter, snow show, and then there's another one in the summer that's typically July, August. The dates have been shifting around a bit. I'm not sure when it is this year, but yeah, that's the 2. They were trying to do 3 last year, and I don't think they pulled off the 3. But those are 2, mainly summer and winter. Those are the ones I go to, and then there's all kinds of other regional shows, regional rep shows that you can go to. You know, the fly fishing show, IFTD. I think that'll probably be in Denver again when they have it next year. But,
Oh, right. Cool. So is that a show that definitely you would recommend? I mean, are there a lot of fly fishing companies? Would you recommend to go to that show or is that more of just more?
That's the place. I mean, the challenge with these shows is they're not consumer oriented. So if you're a consumer, you can't get in.
Oh, there you go. It's not consumer.
Yeah. It's for the business. Yeah. IFTD is not a consumer show.
No.
It's an industry show. Yeah.
That's
Same
right.
with Outdoor Retailer. Those are not consumer shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you went there as a, you know, say if I was to go there as a kind of this thing I have going, would there be I guess you could connect with a lot of people, but would there be a advantage going to that, setting up some audio episodes or something like that?
Totally. Yeah. You can go if you can either make connections to go and set up recordings there, or you can just go there and meet people to then set up recordings later, right?
Yeah.
Right. And you could get in as a media guy, right? I'm a media guy now. I went full circle. Now I was a guide, and then I was a kid on the retail floor, and now I'm a media guy. So it's pretty different. But that's where the business is done in the industry. All the brands are there, all the industry, media, and sales reps, and all those folks are there, but it's not consumers. Yeah.
It's not consumers. Okay. So
same with IFTD,
do you see there are some fly fishing companies that attend that?
Not anymore. They did.
Yeah.
They did for a while. For a while, they were trying to blend in the fly fishing show with the summer outdoor show.
Huh.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why that didn't work. I don't know if the fly fishing guys felt like it's a big show. So if you're a small industry like that, you might feel like you get a little lost in the noise of the bigger show. But it makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know why they both can't figure out a way to do it all at the same time. It's better for the retailers and better for the brands because it's less expensive to have to go to multiple shows. But I think it's not as focused as the IFTD fly fishing show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's kind of wrap this up with a little rapid fire round. And this is, I think, this might be a question you ask on yours, but your go-to gear. If you had to say I think you do the under 100. I love that's pretty good. Well, let's do this. How about could you do under 50?
Under 50. My go-to gear under 50. I don't know if it is under $50. Would be some kind of a really well-insulated coffee mug.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a hydro flask or one of the plastic versions. But I'm a big coffee guy. I got to have coffee in the morning, and you just have to have a really nice something to keep your coffee warm.
Yeah. So you're good. So you keep your coffee warm. See, I'm on the other. I used to always do that, and now I'm kind of I can drink cold coffee just as well. I know.
Good for you.
I'm more water. I do like the hydro because I love having cold water, especially in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny. I was talking to some PCTers. The PCT runs north and south through the Eastern Sierra here, and every once in a while they roll through town. I picked up a couple of hitchhikers, and I was talking about their gear because I haven't done that kind of backpacking in years. And there's this whole new thing about cold soaking food, where they just rehydrate their food by cold soaking it all day while they're walking, and then they eat it cold. And I'm like, man, I just could not do that.
No, I think
I don't think I could do that. I haven't tried it, but
that's almost like you're just trying to rough it too, but I think that especially when you're hiking, you got your.
Well, they don't want to carry the weight of a stove and a pan. I get it, but
that's true.
It's like, I don't know.
Well, here's another question for you. So, what is your? So you're out hiking in the backcountry for your big trip or whatever. What's your luxury item?
My luxury item,
like that one item that's kind of like you probably shouldn't bring it, but if you could bring one luxury item that's kind of the. I don't know. I can tell you. Mine is the Thermarest chair. Well, actually, mine's so old they probably make something even better. But I have an old Thermarest chair kit, right? It turns into a kind of a recliner.
Yeah, I have one of those. There'll probably be that, or maybe I have a really cool tiny Montbell inflatable pillow. A bunch of different people make inflatable pillows now, but I remember when I first brought a pillow, people were like, "What? Just stuff your clothes in your stuff sack from your sleeping bag and use that."
Exactly.
I'm like, nope, I've got my pillow.
No, you got your pillow. So there you go. Yeah, that's full on a luxury item. That's it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let me think here. I was kind of on track to wrap this up here just with a couple. Okay, here's one that I'm not sure if you could finish this sentence. This is a question I've used occasionally in the fly fishing space, but if you had to finish this sentence, the outdoor industry needs blank. I mean, are you connected enough to finish that, or is that something that you feel like
I'll tell you, I think the outdoor industry needs to make the outdoor retailer show along the lines of Coachella or South by Southwest.
Oh,
events.
Wow. Yeah. Which would mean, what does that mean?
Well, I think it needs to be, we need to figure out a way to draw a broader segment of the population that's already outdoors. You know, I mean, over the years, the outdoor industry has broadened its definition of outdoors. It used to be hardcore climbing and backpacking and all that. Now it's much broader. And I think as it has broadened out, and as the show has struggled for various reasons, it makes total sense to me to make it a big giant party. Yeah. You know, I mean, bring some consumers in, bring some Tim Ferris kind of guys in to be speakers and inspire people and, you know, teach them about things that we have limited or no knowledge about. I mean, just make that thing a much bigger, broader event. Get the fly fishing guys together, make that whole outdoor thing a giant festival twice a year.
Yeah, that's great. Man, see that right there? You just saying that makes me want to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just gets you fired up. I mean, if I hear there's going to be maybe a live band or two, maybe
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you knew that every night of the 4-day show there was going to be a major concert by some major band,
be crazy.
You would go just for that day for that concert.
Yep.
If you knew also during that day that on the 4th day Tim Ferris is going to be speaking in the afternoon.
Yep.
And some other, you know, Bill Gates is going to be speaking in the morning, and you know.
Huge.
Tim Cook from Apple is going to be there on day 1. It'd be just so much different than it is. I think right now it just needs to, because the whole outdoor space is mainstream. Now everybody's doing it, right? They're all going to national parks. They're all going, more and more people are fly fishing and hiking. And we sure see it here in the Eastern Sierra with all the various people. So add the overlanding, you know, the Colorado Teardrop guys, all those things. It's all outdoor recreation. Let's make it the big outdoor recreation festival twice a year.
That's cool. And you mentioned Tim Ferris. Are you more of a you know, if you had to listen, are you more podcast or music? What do you tend to?
Oh, it's a little both. Yeah. Podcasts, music, books, Audible. I'm a big Audible guy.
Yep.
You know, I have a few long drives that I make a few times a year, so I load up the Audible. And
what's your favorite? What's your favorite podcast other than Tim Ferris? Do you have any other ones?
It has to be the Outdoor Biz Podcast.
Well, other than your own, and other than Tim.
I really like the Tim Ferris show. Yeah. I really enjoy. I don't know if you know. There's a guy, John Lee Dumas.
Oh yeah,
who does Entrepreneurs on Fire.
Yeah,
he's got a really good one.
Yeah.
I really like Channel Mastery by Kristen Carpenter.
Oh really? Channel Mastery.
Verde.
Okay.
Yeah, she does a really good. It's a very focused retail business podcast where she gets some great guests on. She does a really good job. That's a good one I try to catch all the time.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. There's some good ones out there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll look. I'm a podcasting freak, so I always love digging into new shows and stuff. So here's another one for you. This is, and maybe you can't answer this one, but if you had another question, you know, on the outdoor biz or, you know, the outdoor industry, you know, what is ripe for disruption? Does anything come to mind when you hear that?
The show.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's the same thing. Just
back to what I was talking about.
So that show is super important for the industry.
Oh, it's the place. I mean, and the interesting thing about it is it's now become more of an event than a show. You know, when I first started 20, 30 years ago, it was truly a show. We went to that show. We wrote a bunch of orders. We did a bunch of business. It was very business focused. And today, because of the shifting production cycles and a bunch of different reasons, it's not as focused on writing as it was. And now it's becoming more of a bigger event for me. I get a lot done there as a media guy. You know, I can interview people and that kind of thing. all this new influencer stuff. A lot of that business gets done there.
Oh, right.
But I think it just because of that, it lends itself to being more of a festival kind of event. And that's like I said before, that's where I think it should go.
That's it.
Just ripe for that.
Cool. All right. Well,
and the other thing is there's existing models out there. You can go look at Coachella and South by and some of these other maybe smaller, those are pretty huge events, but maybe you could look at some of the smaller regional events like that, and it's doable.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely would love to get out. I've got about 10 conferences that are on my list, and I'm hoping to get to maybe 4 this year, but
right.
You know what I mean? But I would love to get to that one and just experience it.
That's a good one. Yeah. Go to the summer one. That's the better of the two, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. Well, I think we're just about out of here. Maybe if you think about the show today, I mean, we've talked a little bit here and there. Anything, kind of your biggest takeaway from our discussion today? Anything that comes to mind with what we could leave people with?
No, I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad I didn't know about your show until you reached out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add it to my queue and, I have
nice.
to have you on my show.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely love to. So my show, just for a little heads up, and I've said this before, people know this, but, I'm break mine up into seasons. So basically every 30 or 40 episodes is a season. And so the first 30 are all steelhead for the most part. And then I get into the next 30 are mostly trout. And then, then I get into some destinations. So yeah, if you want to skip the steelhead and just go to the trout or whatever, it's, I've had some. No,
I think it's all interesting.
Yeah.
It's all interesting. Yeah.
Well,
make sure your listeners go to ricksaez.com/podcasters-workshop if they're thinking about a podcast themselves. Love to help them out. If it's just a 30-minute free convo, let's do that and see what you're thinking. That'd be fun.
Cool. I'll definitely put a link to that. And then before we let you get out here, just in the next, 12 months, or I guess 6-12 months, anything new we can expect to you? Or are you just going to keep doing more of the same good stuff?
Well, the Outdoor Biz Podcast is still rolling along. We'll have new guests and, I think the biggest new thing on that side of the world is the whole coaching thing. We're also offering a little destination workshop over in Croatia. I have a good friend of mine who runs the Adriatic Academy over in Croatia. So we have 2 dates in May to come and do some adventuring in Croatia and spend 8 days working on your podcast. And you'll come in and get a little fun and adventure and go home with a nice shiny new podcast. So that's on the website too. You can find that. Yeah, super fun. And then I am doing another project. I just started down this road about a month ago, another new podcast. So can't quite talk much about that yet, but keep your ears tuned. There'll be something new coming along. I'm going to do a pilot program and see how that goes. And then I think it's got a lot of opportunity. More of a mainstream thing. It's not tied so much to the outdoors, more mainstream.
Gotcha. Yeah,
something completely different.
That's cool. And I'll just throw this out. You got me thinking on podcasts. I just was recently listening to a new one, the Clone Yourself podcast. It's about if you want to
it's Sam Caber.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah. Do you know Sam?
Yep, I know Sam. Yep, I met Sam at a mastermind event in Vegas about a month ago. We have a mutual friend, Travis Chappell, who does a podcast about building your networking and all that stuff. And he launched a mastermind group, and we all went over there and got to hang out with a bunch of major podcast guys. I don't know if you know Steve Sims. Have you read the book Blue Fishing?
Oh, yeah, Steve Sims, of course.
Great book. Yeah, he was there, so it was really fun.
Steve Sims, that guy. I love that guy.
Oh, he's a great guy, yeah. So it was fun to hang out with those guys, and I met Sam there. And I actually hired my first VA about a month and a half ago.
Oh, no kidding.
To do all my social media stuff.
How's that been
It wasn't
going?
my first, but actually, I just paused it this week because I'm going to reevaluate social media and how I'm going to tackle it. But it worked great. She was awesome.
Did you use Free Up?
Yep, exactly. Free Up.
Yeah, Free Up. Yeah. So you went over to a mastermind with the clone is Sam.
Sam, yeah.
And Steve. And so you were part of a mastermind group with those guys?
I was in the audience. Yeah, Steve was part of one of the presenters. Travis Chappell from Build Your Network put it on.
Yeah.
Steve Sims was one of the presenters. Michael O'Neill was another guy there. He's got the Solopreneur Hour show. I think he was like the MC of the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were some great presenters. It was about a 3-day event, I think.
Cool.
And super fun just to learn from some guys that are on, way bigger than I'll ever do.
They're doing well, yeah, for sure.
You get little tips and tricks and things that you can use,
Yeah, that's awesome. You just kind of got me thinking that's, Yeah, Steve and Sam. I mean, I'm just on the cusp of getting a VA to help with all that stuff. Maybe the podcast.
Cool.
Do you do all your own podcast editing and the whole thing, or do you have?
I still do. Yeah. I've been pretty lucky though. I've been having my shows don't need a lot of editing for whatever reason. It's just like a conversation, and I kind of let it flow. So I've been pretty fortunate. So I do all that, but the social media thing was getting away from me, and I hired a VA. She did a great job. I'm just reevaluating what I'm going to do. I'm not sure. Yeah. Posting all that many times on all those channels is valuable.
And how do you get your ROI? How do you determine what that is?
Exactly. And all that? Right. Yeah. But I have also used VAs before. A lot of my graphics, I'm working with a woman in Egypt who I found on Fiverr. She does a great job. She was on Fiverr. So yeah, VAs are awesome. Sam's got a great training too. His first 10 episodes on that whole how to hire a VA thing. Oh man, it's amazing.
I just used it for sure. Cool, man. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'll
great chatting with you.
Yeah, I'll put links out to your website and everything we talked about. And until we connect again, let's just keep in touch, and we'll look forward to keeping listen to your podcast and move forward from there.
Same. Yeah. If I can help you in any way, reach out.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Rick.
All right. Thank you. Take it easy.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
So there you go. If you want to find all the show notes, all the links we covered, just go to wetflyswing.com/122. A quick reminder for the big Pyramid Lake giveaway. Head over to wetflyswing.com/giveaway. That's GIVEAWAY to enter the trip and head out with yours truly on a chance at a record giant crazy-sized Lahontan cutthroat trout. This is pretty cool. If you haven't heard about Lahontan cutthroat trout, they're a unique species out in that part of California, Nevada, Oregon. And in this Pyramid Lake area, they get to a gigantic size because of the lake, the size of the lake, the food, and things like that. And lots of interesting stuff, including fishing off a ladder. So yeah, you should check it out. Just head over to that giveaway, or just reach out to me and send me an email if you want to hear more. That's dave@wetflyswing.com. Thanks again for stopping by. Check out the show today. I'm looking forward to catching up to you soon. I hope to maybe see you on line or on the river.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes.